Good evening, everybody. Welcome into the Money Stop. Happy Monday night. Um, it is the start of a brand new season here in both ROCAR and on the Money Stop. As you can see behind us, we are in a new setting. Um, Apologies for the late start. What's new at this point? We were having some technical difficulties just trying to get everything online and get going. But as always, happy to be here. Happy to be doing another episode of the Money Stop tonight. I am once again joined by my co-host Laner.
Hello, everybody. Nice to be back.
Yes, sir. Um, we have an exciting new kind of lineup for you guys tonight. Some things that we hope will kind of bring a refresher onto the podcast, and we really hope that these things will kind of give it, I guess, like a facelift. We've been doing kind of the same structure for the last several seasons, so we really have been trying our best to switch things up. Over the off season, we've been trying to switch things up. So I hope that it pays off, and you guys like what we have to offer. Um, so without further ado, let's jump into what we have to talk about tonight. So tonight's going to be a little bit different. You might notice how we kind of adopt the same structure every week. How we'll talk about the races, and then we'll dive into the points, and we do like hit the gas or pump the brakes, and then we do our race previews. So things are going to be a little bit different. So we're going to go into our race recap and our breakdown. Um, just kind of talking about Talladega overall. We can talk about the clash a little bit, but I don't really know how much of that would really affect the overall conversation of the episode. So um, maybe it's safe to skip over that. But our main focus is going to be Talladega. You know, just jumping kind of right into it. I think for it being the first full kind of look at what the new car offers at this track. Um, I think that the racing was pretty good. Um, I was pretty impressed with the racing itself. Obviously, the lag issues aside, and whatever in the world was going on with the cars aside, I honestly really liked what I saw in terms of the track product, and just the overall kind of intensity um, that we saw. um, you know I honestly really enjoyed it. I don't know about you, Laner, but I know that we have a quite a few things to talk about with this race when we unpack it. So initial thoughts, I guess, off the bat for you.
Yeah, I wasn't really a big fan personally. I just kind of thought the cars were a little bit too unpredictable and squirrely.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I didn't really have a lot of fun with it, but yeah, I I don't know. It's just like a typical Talladega ROCAR 500 race at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Very unpredictable, very edge of your seat, chaotic racing, and that's what we got. I just wish the cars were a little bit tighter and a little bit more stable in the pack, where you didn't really feel like you were going to wreck every single lap, especially like whenever you were in the middle of the pack and getting pushed by other cars. I felt like that was a little bit tough, at least for me. I know that there were some drivers that really did good in this package, um, but for me personally, I wasn't very comfortable being in the pack.
Yeah, I think something for me that I noticed too was that the there was a very prevalent lane, I guess, or like just a dominant lane, and that was the bottom. You couldn't really make a second lane, which I didn't
Yeah,
really enjoy. Something with the older car um, that I did notice was that like you could make a second line with enough cars. Um, and even with having 11 cars, it just didn't really seem like it worked at all. Um, and I know that like with how the cars were, like with how squirrely they were, it was much harder to try and do that. So, I know that the drivers still made their best efforts to make a second line, and just with how the cars ended up being, or how they handled, just didn't really present the best type of product in terms of creating a second line. Um, I think the part that I enjoyed though was the fact that most of the time throughout the race, up front was a little bit calm, but I think there was always stuff going on from like third place and back. Um, and when cars wrecked out of the main pack, um, there were still separate battles going on around the racetrack at times during the race. Um, we saw a lot of big crashes, a couple flips, which is crazy too. We've never seen that many flips before. Um, so I want to know what your thoughts are, because I know you saw a couple of those flips firsthand. But yeah, I know we had a couple drivers that were a part of those incidents.
Um, yeah, it was pretty wild. I don't know that we've ever had that many flips in a single race, but I mean, like coming into it, like especially I don't think you were at the dual race, but like being at the dual race and then the practice sessions, I kind of expected that happening,
Yeah,
just with how chaotic and how many flips we had in those races. Um, Honestly, like it was kind of exciting. Like
yeah,
that I mean the wrecks are pretty insane, and I think it kind of adds to the prestige of the event. I mean, whenever you think of the ROCAR 500, you think of it being really chaotic and crazy, and
yeah.
um, having that many cars go airborne was really, really exciting. I thought I don't want to see that every week. But I mean, having it for the ROCAR 500, I thought was pretty cool. So I'm a fan of that side of it. I thought that was fun.
Yeah. I honestly think that maybe the only driver that really came out unscathed that much was Craigus, who won the race. Um, and I'll kind of transition us into talking about him for a minute too, because I'd love to shine some light on this guy, because um, he is the first driver to go back to back, or not back to back, but win a second ROCAR 500. Um, in the nine that we've had, there have been just a single race winner for each of those. Um, Nobody's been able to do that, to accomplish um, that feat. It's a tall task, as many who have won the race can probably attest to. But he was able to lead a good portion of those final laps. He ended up leading 26 laps. All these statistics, thank you, Lego. Um, he led 26 laps, including the final lap, um, and led the charge for Toyota leading the most laps as well during the race. And uh, you know, I think this is probably a very good momentum starter for that team as well. It's not like they kind of came out of nowhere in the closing laps. They really like held their own for that most of the entire final stage. Held their own up front, and really, really did a great job blocking and defending. There was a couple moments where the runs were getting kind of crazy, and I was like, I was getting very skeptical that he was going to get pushed out of line, or he was going to back out of it and go to the back and work his way up back to the front. But I mean, he held his own, and he did a very good job with just maintaining the lead throughout the entire race. And he deserved that win, and he earned it. He worked very hard for it. So just off the bat, very happy for that team, and it's a great way to start off a brand new season. So
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I mean, Toyota overall is just on a hot streak right now.
yeah,
Um, and I'm sure we'll kind of get into that a little bit later, more in detail. But yeah, I mean, the Toyotas were really fast. I think their drivers were a lot more confident in the
very fast.
pack.
Yeah,
They didn't, they weren't. I don't really know the word. Like, I feel like at least there was only like one Chevy in the race, so I don't really know if we can talk about Chevy as much. But I feel like the Fords were a little bit. Uh, I can't think of a good word. Like, we were a little bit more uncomfortable in the pack. I think the Toyotas really were comfortable in the pack. They didn't mind getting pushed, and they were really comfortable with it. So the results definitely showed, and they pretty much dominated the race. So, but yeah, I mean, I actually DM'd Craigus after the race, and I was like, I guess this is redemption for last season. Me and him had that very close photo finish. So it was pretty cool to see Craigus win that, honestly, because I feel like last season, man, that could have really went either way with how close me and Craigus that finish was. So it was really cool to see him win it this year. So I feel like we're both even on that side of things now. So definitely very deserving.
Yeah, and had maybe a couple things went differently last year, he could be sitting here
Yeah,
as
as
a
a
three time.
three-time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think it just goes to show that really anything can happen with this race. Um, just very happy for him though. He was in the right position at the right time, as they say. So, um, yeah, there is that. I did want to talk about Ford for a second because, um, you know, us being in two Fords, I think can probably speak about kind of what happened. Ford led the least amount of laps, only leading 14 of those. Um, Icy and myself led the 14 of those. Um, I honestly don't know what happened. Um, you know, I know at least from what I know, what I experienced during the race, was just that I experienced a lot of lag, a lot of things that kept me from kind of being confident in taking the lead during the race, um, and I think that during the race, I had a lot of thoughts in the back of my head that if I tried to be aggressive or if I tried to get up front when I was already having some lag issues or just the cars were twitching around me, that I was going to cause big wrecks and consistently cause
Yeah.
them. So I was just honestly nervous for myself that, I was going to end up making a mistake that would cost the entire field maybe a shot at winning the race towards the end or scoring points in the stages. But my goal, I think, was just to give SSR a good finish. Um, it sucks that we didn't lead as many laps as we did or really show speed consistently like we did, but I know that like we at least tried. And I know that Lego talked about it in his interview, but the real season kind of starts, you know, this weekend for Dover and going forward. I don't really know, what things are going to look like going into this weekend, but I know that they have to be at least a little better because we're not at a super speedway.
Yeah.
There is a true chance to perform and, perform a little better than we could have done at Talladega, but it's not anything I think for Ford to hang their heads on. But I think it's definitely something to take note of for, when we go back to Talladega next season or, hit Daytona. Even Chevy, only led 18 laps. Um, so I think it's something for them to maybe take note of as well. I don't know about you, but
Yeah, well, I mean, I I don't know. I mean, Toyota could easily win Dover too, but like um I really think like there's a lot of great drivers in the Ford camp and there's a lot of great drivers in the Chevy camp. I mean, um assuming Jax is back to full time and Benji obviously didn't even attend the 500. So those are two very talented drivers. Lego was within only a few points of the championship last season. Um, I was pretty close as well. I mean, like Parker is poised for a breakout season, in my opinion. So it's
Yeah.
like there's a lot of good drivers outside of Toyota that I think will throw their name into the hat. But for right now, I mean, Toyota's definitely on a very hot streak. But whenever we get to some of these non-drafting tracks, it'll be interesting to see who really has speed at these more traditional ovals.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I honestly, I want to move on just for the sake of time. Um, let's see. Let me move back to my notes here. Um, I want to move on to our last question before we move on to our next topic, at least, which is like winning the 500 and talking about how important it is. Um, we've both won the 500. We've been very fortunate enough to win it in our career. Um, but I think like this race is always the special one that every driver wants to win. Being full time or not, whether you're doing a one off, um, this is always the race to win um, because you're as a champion of the ROCAR 500 for this league. And I honestly think that it's a very special race to win. It's a huge trophy to take home, but it's also something that like when you look back at your resume when you retire, that's going to be at the top of the list. Whether you're a champion, a cup champion, or a ROCAR 500 champion, those will be the two things that stay at the top of your list. So um, when it comes to this race itself, it's so special. And just hats off to the entire team at GFM for pulling it off, and um, they really deserved it. So congratulations to them.
Yep, I agree.
All right, we're gonna move on. Um, so we are going to try something different. This is the first of a couple things that we're trying. Um, we are going to do. Oh yeah, people are calling out my PC. Sorry guys, I don't know what's going on with my PC, but if it gives out, I apologize. um, dealt with it the entire race too, so don't know really what's going on with it. Don't know if it's got a virus, but hopefully next week I'll have the issues ironed out. For now, bearing through. So, anywho, back to what I was saying. So we are actually going to try a live race poll. Um, and what we're going to do during our poll is ask you, the viewers, what you guys thought of the Talladega race. And obviously, everybody in the server will be notified of when this poll goes out. So, people that are not watching can still vote on it. We encourage everybody to try and vote on it. But what we want to do is ask everybody what their thoughts are on the race that we saw. Um, so that goes from just taking into consideration of the the racing itself, um, the type of track that we were at, comparing it to past races. All things considered, we would like to start kind of logging this as more of like a historic thing for us, um, to just get some thoughts on how people think of the racing as the season goes on, and what we are kind of seeing among the trends from the drivers and the viewers and the different people in the media, and what they think of the races. So um, I don't know if you want to publish the poll, Laner, but um, you're more than welcome to do so whenever. Um,
Yeah, and I was hoping that I don't know if we want to do this separate than our rate the race because it might be different, but I was thinking we could like guess what we think the poll is going to be, and kind of have like a little competition between us before I do that. Um, so I don't know if we want that to be separate because what we think the poll might be completely different than what we actually think the race is, if that makes
yeah,
sense. So that's kind of how they do it on the teardown. So that's kind of where I got my inspiration from that. But if I'm so we'll both guess, and whoever gets closer to the actual number would win that week. Is how it works.
Yeah.
But anyways, so if I'm gonna guess what the poll will be, I think I'll go with 75 for the poll. That's not my actual rating, but I think the poll will be at 75. That's my guess.
Mm, I honestly think it might be lower. Um, I'm gonna go more down to like a 55, maybe in the 60% range. Um, I could be completely wrong, but I'm gonna stick with that just because I honestly don't even know how many people are gonna vote this week anyway. So, people might vote more as the season goes on. Um,
Yeah.
so we'll see. But anyways, we're putting the poll out. Be sure to go vote. Um, and I guess we can check in, towards the end of the episode and maybe just give some people some time to vote, um, and what they thought of the episode or the race. Sorry, guys, been a long day. Um, but we'll give some time for people to think about, what they thought of the race, and we'll check in later on.
And the poll is posted in the Money Stop um I can't even think. The Money Stop channel on the ROCAR server.
All right. Yep, I see it. So everybody, go make sure you vote, um, and we'll see what the results are towards the end. All right. Um, and one more thing. This is something again we plan on doing every week. So, this will be something that you guys can vote on every week, whether you're watching or not. Um, and you can always vote, at a time, where is most convenient for you. So,
Yeah, the poll will go on for 3 days. That's what
yeah,
I have it set for. We might adjust that in the future, but since it's the first episode and I don't really know when people will get around to it, we'll do 3 days for the first poll. If it ends up being a thing where people vote really quick, we might end up doing only 24 hours. But for now, we'll just do 3 days and see how that goes.
yipper. All righty. Cool, cool, cool. All right, we are gonna move. We're gonna move to our call-in segment, and this is something that I did put out last night when we announced that the episode will be tonight. Basically, what the call-in segment is going to be is we're going to give you a prompt, the viewers a prompt. So hopefully, those that are planning on calling in are watching, so they can listen for the prompt. Um, and we're going to give you guys a prompt though, and we'll share our initial thoughts and then open it up to you guys. You guys can always chime in the chat, or you guys can chime in the Discord. Um, it's completely up to you guys. We would prefer you guys call in and share your thoughts, but it's entirely up to you. We wanted to try something new, just as kind of a substitute here and there for bringing people on as well. Um, but our first question, or our first prompt here, um, is is this win a good omen early on for Kragus? Um, I should have put is this win, but it says just is this a. Anywho, is this win a good omen for Kragus? To start off on the good foot for this season. I think for me personally, I think this is a very good omen, of things to come. I look at last season and how that team started. They started off very strong. They got multiple wins, and I don't really know what happened later on in the season. It didn't really seem like things stuck well for them. And obviously, they came up short, in the end with trying to win the championship. Um, but I honestly think that, winning this race, I think was very special for him. You could hear the emotion in his post race interview. You could feel the emotion when he was talking about it after the race, on Discord, through his, media, whatever, the team media stuff. The win meant a lot for him. And I think that is like not a wake up call, but it is a kind of, I guess, like a call to action for that team that they really they have to step up this season. And I think this is a very good starting point for them to do that, and making sure that they um, consistently do better this season than what happened last season. But I don't know if you have
Yeah.
any thoughts,
No,
later,
yeah,
to share, but
I completely agree with what you said, and I mean, Craig is a person that's been around in this league for a long time, so
yeah,
he understands what that race means, and he knows how hard it is to win that race. So
yeah.
um, I'm not surprised at how much it meant for him, especially to win his second. It's it might be a while before we see somebody repeat again. I mean, I don't know. We're kind of running out of people at this point, but it's not an easy thing to do. It's a very hard race to win. So a very special moment for him.
All right, well, let's get to our first caller. We actually have Benji Jr. on the line, a Pennzoil Pro Series driver, D2. Let's get your thoughts. What are you thinking, Benji Jr.?
I'm happy. I'm excited to be here.
Welcome on. Welcome on. We're glad to have you. Do you think that this win is a good sign for Craigus?
Yeah, it shows us that he's gonna have maybe a dominant season and maybe win a championship. I'm happy he won it. He deserves it.
Okay. Anything else before we move on to our next caller?
Yeah, love you guys. And have a great show.
Love you
We
too.
love you too.
Thanks.
Love you guys. Bye.
All right. that was something.
He was happy to be on.
I know, and that's all we can ask for. I think we're waiting for our next caller. We had 3 initially before we came on, so hopefully it still will be 3.
It'll be. We'll skip the next one and
Okay.
go to because he said he can't make it.
Okay. No worries. All right. Well, then we're gonna move on to our next caller. I guess like our final caller for this one.
Let me add him onto. Okay, he should be able to join now.
There he is. Okay. Please welcome on Aiden, infamous commentator and officiator for the Cup Series, and I guess just ROCAR in general. Aiden, welcome onto the show. What are your thoughts?
Sorry, my microphone was muted, but thank you for having me. Unfortunately, unlike Benji Jr., I'm not as optimistic. We've seen this a lot from Craigus. He usually gets really hot to start the season, and then as the season continues, that fire begins to fade until it, like ultimately last year, it burnt out in the playoffs, and he ended up not even finishing top 3 in points, which is something of course, I don't hope that happens again, but I don't really see how that would change. Like, he has more teammates this season, sure, but outside of super speedways, that's not really going to help him this season. Of course, it could bring more morality to the team, but we've also seen a little bit of infighting from GFM in the past and already this season. We got to see Trix and Wendigo not very happy with each other after the 500. So I think that could be a distraction for him. And they're also probably going to have to, he's going to have to share setup information with his teammates. Like, he has Trix and Land there, both really capable drivers. But if he finds something, unlike last season, he can't just keep it to himself. He's going to have to share. So I think, assuming he's in the right headspace and can keep that headspace for the whole season, I think he's definitely going to be a threat to win. the championship, but I don't know if he's going to be able to keep that headspace for the whole season.
Very insightful thoughts. Any thoughts on that, Laner?
Um, I don't know. I mean, I don't. He brings up great points. They're all valid. But I feel like this is a completely different season, so I don't really know how much I put into that. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to say because I feel like every season is different. So I don't know. I guess time will tell. I really don't have a thought one way or another. But I mean, everything he's saying is true, but I don't know if I would predict that personally.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know either. I think this is all just kind of trying to make the best judgment based off of what we've seen in one race plus a clash from that team. Um, but I know that, like Aiden, I know that you've had, you know, a vast background of watching him in particular, but watching him around other drivers within his team and other organizations. So, I appreciate your insight and bringing on um, some of your own thoughts.
All right, thank you for having me.
Yep. All right. I think we had another prompt, but maybe we just move on. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, I saw that too. But
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
We had a good question planned, but it's
we
all
could save
good.
it for next week.
Yeah, we could save it for next week. But um, let's see. Let me get back to my notes here. Okie dokie. So we're going to move into our next segment, which is talking about our driver of the week. And this is basically just, making our picks on who we think is the driver of the week. It doesn't always have to be the driver who wins. It could be just a driver who had a great performance. But it is somebody that gets a driver of the week pin from us here at the Money Stop, and something that we thought would be a great addition for our lineup. Um, my driver of the week that I picked, I feel like is going to be pretty obvious, but it's Craigus. I just honestly feel like he really outdid himself this past weekend, and he did a really great job. And I think that team is really putting themselves in a great position to do well this season already. Um, they were fast the entire time, and they really knew how to navigate their way through the field when it mattered this past weekend. And I also know that I feel like the team is kind of just in a full reset mode. They're probably not wanting to think about last season and what transpired towards the end of last season, and kind of losing out on the opportunities that they did towards the end of the season. So I'm sure that they're in full focus for this year. They're not thinking about last season, and he is my driver of the week. So yeah, there's that. Laner, who's your driver of the week?
I mean, at this point in the season, it's hard to pick anybody except for the winner. Um, although part of me was kind of considering picking Wendigo just because he had a pretty strong performance in the 500. I feel like, at least from my perspective, and then he did follow it up with winning the D2 race. But um, I'm gonna go with Craigus just because I mean it was the first race of the season. He led the most laps and he won the race. So it's very early in the season and we don't really have much to go off of. So I will go with Craigus.
All right. You guys can always tune in to see. Sorry, guys, I got a lot of cameras to work now. Um, you guys can always tune in to see who our drivers of the week will be on the next episode. Um, but for now, those are our picks for the week. And let's see what we got up next to talk about here. We are clocking in at just about 40 minutes. So, um, yeah. All right. Well, we have the points to talk about next. I feel like I didn't prepare. I didn't bring up the full look at the points, but we can just refer back to them. Um, just from the picture that you provided, Laner. But um, Craigus is obviously atop the point standings, in the lead with 64 points, um, and 26 laps led. Trix is in second with 49 points, and Land is behind him closely with 46 points. Lego is in fourth with 40 points. Jax and myself are 36 and 35 points, respectively, to the good above the cut line as of right now. Um, Nothing really to talk about, I think, with the points, but it's definitely going to be, I think, more interesting this season when we have, because refresh my memory later, but I think we started last season with the old format and we switched sometime in the middle of the season, right?
No, we started with the chase.
Okay, all right.
We switched like right before the season.
I could not remember for the life of me if we started with that format or not. Um, Anywho, but my point though being was that I think this will be interesting to watch because I think that with a full season under their belts now, or at least just some knowledge of what to expect in terms of the points and how the chase operates, I think that people are going to be paying more close attention to where they are in the points and basing that off of how to kind of approach each weekend. Um, the points are going to be more important, now than ever. Um, you know, with that old format out of the window now, I think that, it's just something that we're going to have to pay close attention to. Um, but I think that the points are also going to be very close this season. I don't think that really like anybody's going to jump out to a lead or anything. Um, I obviously don't know what's going to happen. There's a lot of opportunities for some surprise winners and some upsets, but um, I honestly don't know if the points are going to get that stretched out. Um, just making a little bit of a prediction, but I don't know. What about you, Laner?
Um, I mean I think I agree. I don't know that they'll get super stretched out. I mean, right now the only person who really has a big lead is Craigus, just because he won the race. But I mean, from second to the cutoff, I mean, pretty much all the way from second to 10th, those positions could change after Dover. I mean, 15 points is really not much at all. So I think we'll see a lot of moving and shaking in the points. Probably nothing will really be solidified until about midway through the regular season. I think that's whenever we'll start to see people kind of cement themselves into the chase conversation. But I mean, right now it's super early, and there's still a long way to go. One thing I did want to point out though is I think it's somebody like Trix. I think he's got to be ecstatic, leaving Talladega second in points.
Yeah.
Just with him being brand new to the Cup Series. I mean, I know he raced a long time ago, but being new to the Cup Series and coming out of Talladega second in points, that's really. I think he's got to be really happy with that because you don't know how that team is going to perform at the ovals, especially just being new to the series.
Yeah, I was actually going to point that out too. I think Trix moving up. I think this is really a big opportunity for him this season to, really do well in that car. Um, and I think leaving this race, a race where he could have finished literally anywhere, to come out being second in the points is, I'm sure he has to feel really good. Same thing about Land. I know that he didn't finish where he wanted to last season. He finished much further down and ended up much further down in the points, um, if I do remember correctly. Um, so I know that leaving third for him is probably going to feel really nice.
Yeah.
What we're looking at right now too is that half of there is 12 drivers right now that are listed on these points, and you know, six are going to make it, and if the things keep up the way that they keep up, six are going to be out. So I think that there's more competition this season.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Obviously, like those guys like Icy and like Aiden, who don't race very often because obviously they have other priorities, and like myself, other priorities, and I know that Aiden takes on more of an officiating and commentary role. We may start to see that thin out maybe sooner rather than later, in terms of what the realistic kind of competition for the chase is going to look like. But I think right now it's wide open as long as these drivers, attend and maybe log points here and there. But definitely some moving parts already. I know that we're only in the first week, but there's still some moving parts. Um, Aiden saying that he has 0 points. I mean, but that doesn't really matter right now. I mean, you could log points next week if you raced and jump up a position or two if somebody above you doesn't attend. So, I mean, eh, eh, if you really make the effort and somebody above you doesn't attend, I'm sure you will have more points than them.
Yeah, I
At
was
least
going to point
somebody, a
out the same
couple.
thing. I think the competition this season it's a lot more intense. Like last season, I think we really only had like 7 people fighting for the spots. I know Wendigo and Jax were in it, but Wendigo obviously wasn't able to race towards the end of the season, and Jax just kind of stopped attending. But I mean, if all of these drivers keep attending races on a consistent basis, it's going to really be a battle getting into the top 6
Yeah.
for the chase. So I think it'll be really exciting. Last season was a little bit more boring, just talking about the chase battle because we kind of already knew who was going to make it. So I'm really hoping that people stay consistent with their attendance, and we can watch this battle unfold.
Yeah, I fully agree. I honestly think that this is I hate these cameras so far. I gotta flip through them so much. I gotta get used to it. But um, I think so far, we are in for a great points battle. I think with just some of these tracks coming up, I think they will present a lot of opportunities for some drivers to pounce on. And I specifically look at let me pull up the schedule here because there's one coming up that really intrigued me. Um, I honestly think that Iowa is probably going to be a really good race. I know that Bristol will probably be a really good race. Same with Vegas. Um, I'm looking
Well,
at
I mean,
North Wilkesboro and Watkins
yeah,
Glen though as like maybe some of the shocker races. Um,
it's a
that
double header.
yeah, I don't really know what to expect from them. Um, and you know, with this car, those are two tracks that I feel like we could see anybody come out on top. So, um, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like the 600's only like what, two weeks away now, because we got the double
Yeah,
header. So
yeah,
I mean, yeah, the regular season's going to go by pretty quick. So if you think Charlotte's already halfway through the regular season, then that's 2 weeks away.
yeah,
So um, we will have a pretty good idea of where things stand in just a few weeks. It really won't be that long, since we have that double header kind of put there in the middle of the season. So it'll be very interesting. I think I'm more interested in the second half of the regular season. The first half of the regular season, I kind of feel like is more self-explanatory. Like I think there's less chaotic tracks. You got Dover in Texas, North Wilkesboro, Charlotte. I think we kind of know what to expect at those tracks. Like they're more traditional. But then in the second half, we go to Iowa, Bristol, Washington, Walt Disney, Daytona. Like, I think even if you have a pretty big lead built up through the first 6 races, it could easily evaporate through the next 6 because that's where things are really going to get crazy, in my opinion.
Yeah. I honestly think that with the amount of tracks that are on here, um, that uh, are not newer, but, have not really seen the
I
full
mean,
effect of this car come out.
yeah.
You know, I, I,
I
I know that we don't have too many new races though.
I
So
mean, we got North Wilkesboro and Walt Disney World. I think those are the only 2 new tracks, I believe.
yeah,
And I mean Martinstown, I guess, but so three
yeah,
three new ones.
yeah. Martinstown, I'll be very interested to see how
Well,
that
Dover
how
too. I
that
mean,
works.
Dover
But
didn't have a cup race. It had a we ran there in D2, but it hasn't seen the cup drivers yet. So
yeah, and I don't know how that race is going to operate if it's with the same field that we just saw from this past weekend. But I think that's a topic for later on that we can talk about. But
yeah,
um, maybe just for time's sake, I would say you'll probably move on.
yeah.
Just trying to find my notes again. Um, okay, well, with that, let's move on to Dover. So the Cup Series is going to Dover this weekend, and I don't know. I don't think the information is out for it yet, but do you have any expectations as to maybe what we're expecting in terms of laps?
I honestly, I mean, I would assume it would be more than 100. I haven't really got on to see what the lap times are like, but um, probably in the 125, 150 range, just spitballing.
Okay.
Because I'm assuming lap times are in the 20-second
Yeah.
range. So, yeah, I'd probably be around 150 laps.
I think more of my thought was just maybe a ballpark for people that are practicing this week, maybe just to give them a count of maybe how many laps they should be practicing for if they're doing like a full race simulation or something like that. But um, yeah. Um, what are we expecting to see this weekend? I don't really know um, what we're expecting to see. Just based off of what we saw in the fun race or the test race, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're expecting to see, but what do you think?
Well, it's hard to say because the test race was whenever the lag updates were working.
Yeah.
And I think we had like 11 or 12 cars in that race. Um, and it was a lot of fun. I've said it a few times, but that's literally the most fun I've ever had in a ROCAR race. I think just like with the amount of cars that were out there, um, it was a lot of fun. But for this weekend's event, I don't really know what to expect. I mean, the racing itself, like during that event, it was a lot of fun mid pack, but I will say it was extremely hard whenever you got closer to the leader. We kind of saw the same thing in the finale at Vegas, but whoever the leader was with the clean air would just take off and build a huge lead. So
Yeah.
we still kind of have to talk about internally what package we're going to be running in terms of the dirty air this weekend. But if we run the same package, I think you'll kind of see the same thing where whoever the leader is, whoever gets clean air will have a massive advantage. So I think it'll be more of a track position race in that case. If we do the lower dirty air package, I don't know. I don't know what I would expect with that package, but regardless of any of that, I think Dover will put on a really good race. And had we not done the fun race there, and had that not been really fun and exciting, I don't really think that it would have ever gotten a points race for the Cup Series.
Yeah. I mean, I watched it purely from a spectator perspective, but I mean, from what I saw, I really enjoyed the racing. I honestly thought it was really um, enjoyable. And I thought there was a lot of passing as well.
Yeah.
There was the wrecks that I saw were kind of entertaining, I would say. It's not like you saw one or two cars spin here and there. I think the wrecks that we saw were pretty entertaining. Um, Kind of nowhere to go on a track like this too when you wreck. Like if you wreck on the backstretch, like and you're mid pack, you're toast. Um,
Yeah.
there's a very slim chance you're making it out of it. So I feel like this is one of those tracks that's not like narrow, but it's narrow for avoiding wrecks. So
Oh yeah, for sure.
yeah, I'll be very interested to see this weekend because we're gonna see some wrecks. I'll be very interested to see how the field navigates that this weekend.
Yeah, and I mean the thing about Dover is that with lap times in this car only being in the 20-second range, if you get in a wreck and you can't save it, you're probably going to go a lap down.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
so that's another thing to add into it. Um, but I mean during that race, the all grooves of the track were usable. I mean you could pretty much pass anywhere on the track, and it was a lot of fun. I think the only downside, like I said, was just how big of an advantage the leader had. But I think if we know that going into it, I think people can kind of build their strategies around that. Um, I think it'll be very important to keep clean air and keep track position. So maybe with teams knowing that information, maybe they will set their pit strategies kind of around that, you know?
yeah. I don't know. It something like that. I'm not really sure about. I think I think strategy is definitely going to play a part. I don't really know like what the fall off is at this track,
Yeah,
and
I have no idea.
that's why I'm like a little skeptical of like making a prediction or like making a judgment on something like that. Because I don't know what the fall off is from having tires versus no tires. Um, so I think that's going to be a good indicator during the race. Is what is that feeling like of having tires versus no tires? Um, you know, are people going to pit more? Are people going to pit less? I feel like at Talladega, it was easier to run out on track with um, not wrecking. Like if you wrecked, like you basically had to pit. But I feel like if it were green for a lot more of the time, um, maybe we wouldn't have seen as much pitting as we
Yeah.
did. Um, with the amount of wrecks that we had. Um, but I mean, with that aside, we can't really dwell on that. But just looking to Dover, I think that's going to be a big indicator is kind of how the tires handle and what the fuel is going to be like as well. Um, what the fuel situation is going to be like when it comes to running there. I don't really know. Um, how many laps in a single run you can go without running out of fuel. So I think those two things are going to be big indicators as to shaping the pit strategy, and I think um, having at least a lap indicator of how long this race is going to be is a good starting point for drivers to kind of test out when they race and or test out when they're practicing before the race and just trying to come up with a good strategy to bring to Dover.
Yeah, I completely agree. I guess it's so early in the season, like I don't know. We're still kind of getting into the swing of things, so it'll be really interesting just to see. I don't know really what to expect or who to expect to be running up front or what strategies people might try, but especially with it being a new track. I mean, we just went to Talladega, and now we're going to a brand new track. So I think it'll be really exciting, and I'm really interested to see what's going to happen. So there's a lot of things to look forward to this weekend.
Yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure. Alrighty. let's move into our let's see. Let's move into our rate the race, and then we'll do our race winner picks. Let me see. So, do you want to go first? I feel like I've been going first for everything, but if you want to go first, you can.
Rate the race.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go first. I think it. I don't know. It's tough because like the prestige of the ROCAR 500 obviously like adds to the race. Even if it's not the best race, I feel like at least being a driver in the car, it you're excited the whole time. Like you can definitely feel the prestige of the event, and you want to perform well. And every moment during the race feels amplified, at least from my perspective. Um, the racing itself, to me, was not anything special. I think we've definitely seen better ROCAR 500s. I mean, if you want me to be blunt, I think this was probably one of the worst ROCAR 500s. Not taking anything away from the race or what the event or the prestige of the ROCAR 500 is, but I we kind of went over it earlier. I just was not a fan personally of the way the cars raced in the pack. I felt like it was extremely difficult for me personally. So my rating is more from a driver's perspective because I don't know what it looked like from a spectator's view. I think with everything I just said, I would give it like a 73%. I don't really want to give it lower than a 70 just because at the end of the day, it still is the ROCAR 500. We did have a lot of good moments. We had a pretty close finish. We had some crazy wrecks. And I think that there were a lot of storylines that came out of the event. So I think it was a pretty good race. Honestly, maybe it wasn't one of the worst. I think that was a little bit of a dramatic thing to say. Maybe it was more in the middle, but I do think we've had better ones. I'll go 73, 73%.
All right. I'm gonna go a little higher. I'm gonna go up to an 80%. Um, I think that, like I said in the beginning of the episode, I think that this race had a lot to offer. Just with what we've seen out of this car and kind of the unknowns that we were coming into with this race. I think that the race had a lot to offer. And I think that we saw a pretty good race. Was it the best ROCAR 500? Probably not. I think there would be much higher rated 500s than this one, but it was decent. And like you said, with the prestige, I think that that is the reason I'm giving it a bit of a higher score. Just with the fact that this is such a race that everybody wants, regardless of the antics of it and the different puzzle pieces that play into this race coming together. I think that this is a race that everybody wants to win. Somebody like Kragus really worked for it. We saw a lot of drivers going for it. Aiden and I did not agree a lot during the race on how we were racing each other, mostly how he was racing me, though. Um, Mostly how he was racing me, though. And I think that with that in consideration, just shows somebody like that who does not maybe race as often, how much that he really wanted it and how much he wanted to win the race. Um, so I think that like taking something like that into consideration, um, I think I have to give it a bit of a higher score, but um, I don't know if future races will be not the 500 just in general. I don't know if future races will be given this high of a score because I feel like
Yeah.
last season my scores were a lot lower as the season went on. So I don't know. We'll see. But there is your rate the race for week one. Before we go to our race winner predictions, I do want to check in on our race poll. So going back over to Discord, just checking in. If you have not voted yet, you still have some time. But right now we got a couple votes in. We are at a 63% those who said yes, it was a good race, and 38% said no, it was not a good race. So I feel like right now it's in the range that I predicted, about maybe between 50 and or 60 and 75%. But yeah, we'll have to see how the votes unfold. Make sure you go vote if you haven't just yet. But for now, we're going to move on to our race winner picks. With that out of the way, who you got for Dover?
Oh man, it's tough. Still really early in the season. Um, Gosh, putting me on the spot here. I think I'll go with Lego. Um, I don't know why. I just feel like this is the type of track that Lego will perform well at. It's kind of hard to really um, make a great pick with very little information going into this season. But just based off of everything we saw last season, I think that this will be a track that Lego's pretty fast at. So I'll go with Lego.
How was the test race? Let me ask. Like who was up front during the test race when it was ran?
Oh man, I don't even remember if I'm being honest with you. I not very many people. It was very hard to pass the leader. I
Mm,
remember that. So I don't really know who would be fast. Track position was just such a huge thing. I mean, you can make passes mid pack, but even if you were in second place, like it would be really hard to pass the leader. Kind of like what we saw in the finale at Las Vegas. So I don't really know what to expect. I don't even remember who won that race, if I'm being honest.
yeah. Um, I can't remember for the life of me either, but I think based off of maybe just going off of my best guess and my best judgment, I'm gonna go with Land. Um, I honestly think that this guy is not going anywhere anytime soon. Clearly, um, and he's still got more wins in the tank. He's back with a new team now, or back with his old team, but he's with a new team again, I should say. Um, and he's maybe going to stay there permanently. We'll see what happens. But with that aside, I think that he can kind of get back to his rhythm and kind of performing now at his best. He doesn't have to worry about starting with a new team this season, or having to do any of that mumbo jumbo. Hopefully again for the rest of his career. But now that he's kind of settled back in with GFM, I anticipate he's going to be fast right out of the gate. So I'm going to go with him. I feel pretty good about my pick, so we'll see. I feel like you can't ever go wrong with Land. There is only so many drivers you can pick, unfortunately. So, we'll see what happens. But yeah, that is who I'm picking, I think. That's who I'm going to stick with. And I think you disconnected, Laner, but it does not matter because
Oh,
we're gonna be signing off in a minute anyways. Just want to thank everybody though for hopping on tonight to listen in, and apologies that we started the stream very late. It was a little later than we wanted, but we've got some new things that we're trying out, and thank you guys for all the support as always. We are looking forward to having another great season. Um, under the money stop again, and hopefully we can put out some good content for you guys this season. We're really looking forward to the opportunity, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. So be sure to tune in next week. We'll have a brand new episode for you guys. Be sure to tune in for Dover this weekend, and we will talk to you guys after this weekend's races. Take care, everybody. Have a great night.
you guys.